And welcome. So good to be here with you all. To begin tonight, Unchi Lula will lead us off with a prayer.
Ready? Yeah. First of all, I want to tell everybody that we all pray to the same Creator. My prayer is in Lakota language, which is the spiritual path of our people here in the Oglala Lakota Nation. Watewa kantraka apetitile ushicha hoe chiche. Tia wota pime chahoe wai. Oyatea tako krishnila onkte tawo spechupikte. Nataya yuha tako kurchi. Spelkiche apitoka tokata ketia. Zania maoni pikte hecha. Ukuapi. Wopila tranka chicha biuha. Yahiota kabheniuha na apetu ashtestish aluhapikte ahoye chicha. Hamitako yasi.
Oh, hamitako yasi.
Can't hear you, Ali.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Ali Tharp, and I'm with the Unitarian Universalist Ministry for Earth. And I'll invite, I think, for everyone on the screen now to introduce themselves to Unchi Lula. And Johnny, would you start with just saying hello to the 416 people joining us and where you're calling in from?
Bye, Lula. Just say hi to everybody. 400 something people.
Hello, Bentako Yepi, Yuha Tayo, Lelia Hiotaka, Wopila Tranka. Thank you, my relatives, for all of you that are here.
And how Mitakuyapi. We're glad everyone could join us for this film, and we hope you'll stick around after when we have a little bit of sharing and discussion. And Unchi Lula and myself, we're sitting here in Pahasapa, South Dakota.
I am Clément Guerra. I am the French co-director of the film. I co-directed the film with my wife, Sophie Guerra, who is German. And I'm very, very honored to have you all in this room tonight. Thank you. We will catch up after the screening.
Casey? Oh, Casey dropped. Juan, would you go?
My name is Juan Mancias. I'm with the Carrizo Comic Crew, tribe of Texas. I am, and I just want to make sure that you are blessed in a way too during this time of that's a hard time, and we find ways to be resilient and to overcome a lot of the things that are happening. So I want to thank you for that. Next.
Casey, would you like to try again?
Introduce yourself.
I'll go. Yeah, and just so the audience knows, Casey Camp is in a very rural part of Oklahoma and has to rely on satellite internet. So there's a little bit of a delay at times. Bear with us. And yeah, she may drop off, but she'll come back. My name's Brian Parras. I'm in Houston, Texas, and I identify as Chicano, Mexican-American, born and raised here in Houston, Texas. And I'll pass it to Ali while we wait for Casey to jump back on.
Thanks, Brian. So I guess I want to share a brief story about how I came in to be involved with the film and Brian and I met in 2012 through the Keystone XL pipeline opposition here in Texas. And then Brian came with a workshop to present a workshop to Unitarian Universalist young adults at a conference in Houston, and a film crew showed up with Brian, and just asked if they could record our workshop together. So I said yes with curiosity and intrigue, and that was a good 6 years ago now, a little over 6 years. Or no, a little under 6 years, but it's been a real journey for everyone involved in the film, and I've just been really so excited and supportive to see, everything you're about to see. It's a really amazing story, and I'm just grateful that our paths crossed, and that now we can create new pathways with everyone here tonight. And so I do want to give a shout out to a lot of the supporters who helped bring everyone together. The Side with Love campaign. Hi, Everett, who's here tonight. Johnny and Unchi Lula are with a group called the International Initiative for Transformative Collaboration, which we'll talk about more after the screening. The Carrizo Comecrudo Tribe of Texas, the Unitarian Universalist Association, UU Young Adults for Climate Justice, Community Church of New York, UUSC, the College of Social Justice, Justice Washington, the International Indigenous Youth Council, Our Sacred Earth, Metro New York Catholic Climate Movement, Willamette University College of Law, Sierra Club, 350, Water Protector Legal Collective, Center for Earth Ethics, and everyone who shared a link to invite your friends to the film. I want to send a sincere thank you to you all. Tonight is a donation-based suggested sliding scale donation, and the funds that are raised will go to a benefit impact campaign for No More Sacrifice Communities, and for Indigenous solidarity work with the UU Church, and also with churches in the Amazon, and we'll be also benefiting the International Initiative for Transformative Collaboration in the Carrizo Comecrudo Tribe of Texas. So please give generously if you can, whatever generous looks like for you. And we'll also follow up with the link tomorrow. So don't be distracted from the movie by that.
I think it is very interesting that it is ready now at a time when there's a worldwide epidemic and the virus is killing millions of people and everybody's panicking, and it affects our environment, and a lot of people don't see that or understand it. But those of us that are conscientious of the environment and the atmosphere are very aware of the chemical impact on our people and the forest and the land. And this pandemic, I think, is related to this environmental issue of chemicals in the air, in the water. And that is something that is destroying our rivers and our air, and it's polluting all the areas that our food supplies come. And if this pandemic continues, it's going to be a bigger problem. Food shortage, chemicals in the soil. It has already affected our rivers, the air, the farmers, the cattle, all along the Keystone Pipeline. And more is going to come if those oil pipelines keep breaking. Everybody is breaking, but the farmers and ranchers along waters, not only Missouri, but other rivers, Montana, New York, the Mississippi, everywhere where there's waters, people are concerned, and they are standing up against the chemical warfare. I would say the chemicals that are in the water, and it's affecting our people. And the water, we need that for our food supply, for the environment. It is essential and absolutely necessary for water clean and chemical free, because it is a medicine. And the animals, affects the animals, the wheat fields, everything that our people need to live on and eat. So this chemicals in the environment is eventually going to spread even more. And it's very interesting to me that this chemical, not the chemicals, but the oil that we see in this film is killing our people, the indigenous people worldwide. And those of us that see that are scrambling to try to do more and to provide information and education for other people. At least that's how much I'm going to say for now. Otherwise, I'll keep talking more. I mean, the environmental issues are a very, I can't quite put my finger. It's very important to me. It's very, it's an issue that affects a lot of people. And I understand that, but enough said. Let's give your chance.
All the relatives she's talking about. So
yeah, it affects all our relatives. When I pray and when I say Mitakuye, that means all my relatives. We don't say Mitakuye for nothing. It means all the people, all the animals, the environment. Those are all our relatives. So to me, there's a prayer. Even the word itself means all my relatives. And that is in our spiritual path. And there are different religions of the world. You have different words for the same belief.
First of all, it's an honor to listen to our elder Red Cloud. She has a beautiful way about her, and it's inspiring to listen to her. It's I look forward to a time when I'll get to talk to her and enjoy her. We are in a phase right now that I've been making a corny joke about another BC, you know, where we have before Columbus, before colonialism, before cell phones, before computers, and before COVID. There's a different way that we are living again. This machine that allows us to speak to one another is a fabulous and very, I kind of think it has it in for me, truthfully. Trying to live out here in the country and enjoy being part of the natural life, and then trying to work through a machine to reach out and touch all my relations, as she spoke of, in a different way. This film has an impact to all of the people that have seen it, that come and speak to me about how it makes them feel connected, not only to the struggles that happen all across indigenous territories, all across our Mother Earth, when we're battling the extractive industry. But it makes them feel connected, not just in the struggle, but in the healing. And it feels like we are all witnessing how quickly our Mother Earth, our Father Sky, all of our relations can heal as soon as we humans step aside and get out of the way. So maybe that's the lesson in BC and AC. How are we going to use this time to connect with one another in order to stop the extractive industry from destroying the earth and all of her inhabitants? But how are we going to make a way forward that puts us back in touch with the natural laws, back in touch with the original instructions, so that we're not saying, you know, we're going to follow this way where somebody somewhere dreamed up a thought of Earth Day, where one day a year, like in Thanksgiving, they always want to play Pilgrims and Indians, you know, Native people. One day a year, they want to listen, pay attention to us, not in a good way sometimes. But that Earth Day is every day, every breath, every step, every gift of food that we put in our mouths, every sip of that sacred medicine they call water, everything that allows us to be is a gift from her, our Mother, the Earth. And again, I should wait for a question. So thank you for this little bit of time that the signal is holding. Sean.
Okay, so there's questions. There's some requests to speak more about the connection between oil and gas and missing and murdered Indigenous women. Why is there a connection there? That's one of the questions here. Another question is about what have you learned from these connections between the Indigenous struggles and communities that are uniting in this common cause? And then another question is just more logistical. How can we continue to show this film to more people and use it to build a community and grow our movement support for this work?
May I speak to the MMIW issue?
Mm-hmm.
I will talk about what happens in this territory, specifically in north central Oklahoma, with the home of ConocoPhillips and the tank battery and all of those things that are here. I've witnessed things in North Dakota like the man camps. But here in this part of the country, when those man camps come through, they take the form of an old hotel, motel, all beat up with cheap rooms. And men come flocking here trying to make money, supposedly, maybe for their family. I really don't know. But what comes with them is avarice, something that wants to not only reach out and grab the money that is offered by the oil and gas, but grab the women that are around here that they have no attachment to. They're not going to take them home. They're looking for a moment's entertainment. Many of them have no scruples. Many of them do have scruples, but the worst ones come with dope. They come with alcohol. They have money in their pockets and they want to buy something. And they oftentimes it's a woman. It's a child. It could be a gay person. And we live in an area that is depressed financially. We live in an area where it's lucky to be able to find a job because we're discriminated against and our health is bad and all of the social ills that go with generations of trauma. And sometimes our young people are just looking for a party, looking for a way to self-medicate and forget just for a night. And they end up being abducted, beaten, and killed, and their bodies dumped. Sometimes they may take off with one of these people and we never see or hear from them again. And with those ones that are coming right now, that are coming with KXL across that so-called closed border or medicine line up there, where they're not letting any but the essential come through, they're allowing these men to live in huge camps like they do here in the hotels, motels, and camper areas. And they could have one of them have COVID-19, and they don't have the sanitary conditions to take care of themselves. So they infect each other, and then they infect our communities, going into the bars, going into the bowling alleys, the grocery stores, or living in those hotels and luring people into them. We've had missing and murdered people since they came on our shore in 1492 and devalued the women and the matriarchy that was the balance of the universe of male and female energy. From the time that they came here and looked at us as property, they have treated us in this manner, and it has only been exacerbated by this fossil fuel regime that is now faltering and falling. So for me, that's part of this connection you talked about, from one place to another and around this way as well, and this way and this way, because they spoiled the air with carbon trading, these ones do, and pollute us more up here. They spoil the earth and kill the green things that grow, and these corns that we have traded with our relatives all the way down into the south. Those seeds are despoiled by them. There is nothing but connections, and it has been our honor to have a women's treaty between the North and South Indigenous women, and made by women and made by Indigenous women, to uphold our old trade routes, to uphold each other in the struggles. And down there, they have the same onslaught as we did about 75 years ago here. So we could help a little bit by saying, look, they sold us that bag of lies too. This is what is real and true, and this is where it will happen next. And we can combine our prayers and combine our knowledges. And in that way, we can be, prayerful for that oil and gas that belongs inside the mother, just like the sacred water, just like the roots of the corn and the tree, just like the condor and the eagle.
I don't even call it a border. I try to stay away from that word, because it's kind of a brainwashing term that makes us realize that there is a line there and there isn't a line. There's a Rio Grande, and the Rio Grande is sacred to us. But 2 years ago, they shot a young lady in the back of the head. Her name was Gomez Gonzalez, and she was just trying to run away to freedom, and an ICE agent shot her in the back of the head, and nobody really knows what happened, and nobody hears about the case. Nobody's done a great deal about it. So things like that are still occurring, and along with what's happening with with the black snake, that prophecy is written all over the Rio Grande as well, where that snake never crosses that river, because we stop it with our traditional ways, with our unification of the arrows dance that we have. It's there. It talks about it. It's on that place, and it talks about trying to restore, what is good in this society again, because we knew how to live in balance with everything that was around us. We knew what harmony was. We were connected. I think that's the word that we use a lot as Native people, and I think it's a word that we need to be looking at what's happening here, how we're connected, because they're still attacking us in many ways. You know, of course, with the wall that's not at the border in Texas, and with other big issues like the KXL pipeline. Down here, we have also the Odessa Permian pipeline. We're fighting a pipeline that's coming all the way from Cushing, Oklahoma, out to Surfside, and we're trying to get that stopped. And of course, we as a small tribe that we are, and not federally recognized, we go around handing out these cease and desist letters because we demand them to stop. We have a right to do that. We have an inherent right to protect our lands, to protect our ancestors, to protect the sacredness of the land as we know it, and to find, you know, the harmony that we used to live with and be connected to, and just to live as part of the land. We in our principles and in our life ways, we don't see things as being us above anything, but that we're just a piece of what's going on. And that's why, you know, when we see these prophecies that we talk about, we see them on the rocks of the river of the Rio Grande and the Concho River and the Brazos and the Canadian and the White River all the way through Texas. They talk about, you know, this coming that is here with us now, and how we're going to have to stand up against it. And it shows us standing up in lines as human beings, you know, dancing our arrows, bringing our arrows together, unifying them. And that picture is down there in the Comstock area at Seminole Canyon. And then we have the arrows that are in other places along other bluffs along Texas. And so with what's happening at the Permian and the desecration of so much environment that in that area, it's awful. And I mean, if people can't understand the whole deal about climate change, just look at how many flares have gone up in the last, 3 years just in Texas alone. And those flares, it's fire, and it's heating up the environment. It's heating up where we live, and it's bringing this devastation to the rest of creation, to our relatives. And that's why what Lula says about, it's all our relatives. I mean, I like to watch the antelope, because the antelope are pretty sacred to us up in the plains, and I like to watch them, and I've seen the herds decrease. And then coming back from Lubbock one day, I saw about 10 of them on the side of the road, just looking at all the mess between all the flares, and it really touched me, because I mean, when I was growing up, you could go out in the grasslands of the Panhandle and of West Texas and see them all over the place, and now you don't see them very much. So these are things that, when we talk about these pipelines, these man camps that come in, it's happening all around. They continue to disconnect all of us, and one of the hardest things that we have to fight here is our own colonization. We break away from that colonized mentality, and to change the narrative, to make it more applicable to the original people of the land, so that we can understand where the sacred sites are, what made this land sacred, what is the sacred medicines of the area. So that's why we stand in solidarity with a lot of these organizations like Tejas and of course with Casey on trying to even stop the wall from being built, because it's desecrating sacred sites, sacred villages, and our historical ways of life. And if they do it to our ancestors, they're doing it to our future generations. And we need to be real aware of what our ancestors have left behind, so that our future generations can flourish.
I am very impressed with the young people that are standing up for our environment. They know and they get the picture, and they want to do more to protect our earth. and our environment. And it's very evident in this film that's just been finished that there's a lot of young people in there. The people stood up at Standing Rock and at KXL and now back to KXL. It's the young people that get the whole picture. The parents, the grandparents somehow don't see it that way. That I don't understand. I am very proud of the young people today that just are rising up to take on this challenge. And those of us that are elders and those young people, younger than me, not too many are older than me, but anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you for hearing me. Pilamayapi.
Oh, mitakuyapi. Ma'ushala ang petu. I'm humble to be here today and thankful for all the efforts that made this film possible and made this, I don't know what you call a gathering when we're all in our separate spaces. I wanted to mention, thanks, Ali, that for those of you that remember me or know me, it's because I spent a long time at Chetty Chacoin Camp at Standing Rock. And we had to go through many of the things that we saw in this film. They're not disconnected. They never change. Those elders that shared things with me as I was learning and growing, as I still am. And all, like Lula says, all the young ones who are picking up those threads like many of us did all that time ago, for you, Casey, for you, Juan. The chance for us to meet and see each other is critically important. But there are some things that arose in all these areas. And I guess I just wanted to simply share that both during the time at Standing Rock and since then, we've been learning what it means to work together. There's a lot of big jumbled words in the letters of our little organization, INITC. But in that manner, we're trying to figure out how to do something together. And we have some really simple things that, as we see like this film and hearing you all talk, become very complex in the difference between not just what we think, but how we think. What causes people to continually berate our relatives, the water, the air, the earth, the sky, the fire, the things that crawl, the things that swim, the things that fly, all the four-leggeds, and all things that grow. What happens to people that get so broken away from that they find it okay to cause irreparable harm to what the beauty of that creation is and how it came about, and all the ways that we carry and that we long to remember? I heard someone say that. And in the film, Casey, you said we have to remember that connection, but where it's lost, we started talking about what it means on how we think, not just what we think. And the second part is how we go about doing things, not just what we do. So we'll gather again here in the Black Hills on the first weekend of September. Juan, you've been across. Ali, you've been across. Quite a few people have. We've asked for a place like this. We have what's our website? What's our website?
Songs and stories.
No, stories and songs.
Stories and songs.
We have a website we simply call Stories and Songs of the People. A film like this we'd like to put on there for all those with a link so that they can come visit. You can send us a note. We're sitting here praying hard all the time for all of us, for all our relatives, much as we did at Chetty Chacoin Camp, much as all the young people who started that and made that possible, just like this film. So there'll be a space, and we'll hope that we can come together and hear each other's voices and listen to the wisdom and the knowledge from our relatives from all the four directions.
I just wanted to add one more thing, that John said, all the prayers made at Standing Rock and KXL, people believed and thought, and I've talked to many of them, that our prayers were not heard. Our Creator did not hear our prayers. And I would tell them, yes, our prayers are heard, but there's a bigger picture. It may not be the answer we wanted, but our prayers are heard, and encouraging the young people that he did, she did, our Creator heard us. And we're going to know what the answer is, or maybe it is here. We don't know yet what the answer is, but our Creator always hears our prayers. And I just want to share that with you. For all those that suffered, and some of our relatives in prison because they stood up and said no. I've got relatives that paying for what they stood up for. And you did too. You all have relatives. Some of them are paying for that price, but they believed in protecting our water. And I know that they will be stronger for what they believe in. So when they come home, they'll be stronger people. Thank you.
So I guess we'll try and keep it a little bit short. There's an invitation, and our hearts swell when we see these type of things like this film, because we know what it takes for us to get together. For all those who are watching that signed on to watch the film, and all the groups that we've worked with, like Ali's organization, the Ministry for Earth, and all those that came across where we've gathered together, it's always turned out powerful, like Lula's saying. Maybe we don't get it right up front, but it's more than powerful that we could stay that year at Standing Rock, that things still happen since then, that this film was created, that our relatives in Central America, in South America, are having the same things. So we like to make spaces where things are possible rather than impossible. And we really like to listen and hear all these experiences you're sharing. Yes.
Also, Clement is managing many other partnerships. And so you can reach Clement at thecondorandtheeagle@gmail.com. And we can type that too. And then Clement, what am I missing? What else would you like to add?
I don't know. I'm so happy to listen to you all. That's I'm just don't feel like listening to myself. That's why I'm maybe hiding behind the camera. And I think that's why I think media can be a very powerful tool for organizing, for bringing people together. You know, we are not adding up any content, but we are just trying to build bridges. And instead of like adding up some more ideology, some more words, we are just trying to use images and storytelling to touch the heart of people. So we had planned this Great Impact campaign. I think it's great. We were supposed to be in New York now with my wife, the co-director of the film, and my babies, 2 babies. And we were supposed to be on the road again, organizing around the film, organizing community screenings, raise funds for local issues, local communities until October. Well, it's been canceled, so we had to redefine the campaign, bring it online. And there you go. So yes, it's not so easy, you know, like because there are always technical issues. It's always a pain, but we are committed. We are very
you did
stubborn.
Great.
We are very stubborn, and the beauty of it all is that we are not the one pushing the film. We are just trying to partner with other groups, indigenous groups, grassroots groups, the big greens, all kind of communities, and the idea is for them to organize around the film. And for each screening we do, we are raising funds for the groups hosting the film, as well as other pressing issues.
I will say, you know, one thing, thank you all again for joining us. And, you know, we're in a weird time. Everyone is on their computer now and doing similar things like this. So there's a strain on the system. But it's also really interesting because, we have grandmothers and grandfathers and moms and dads, all learning how to do really cool things with a computer that maybe they didn't want to do before. But now they have to do it to see their grandkids, or their kids. So there are some positive things, I think that are happening. And I know it's frustrating anytime there's change. But if it's one thing that I've had to grow accustomed to is that change is inevitable, and it's constant and becoming more and more frequent. So I know a lot of millennials and folks younger than myself, I'm in my early 40s, feel like, their life has been riddled with disaster after disaster. And there's certainly, a lot of truth to that. But I will say that, because of conversations and my own experience in my lifetime, I think it's important to realize that, disasters have always happened, and that our communities and our people, have had to suffer through injustices, climatic, environmental, and pandemic events for long periods of time and many times over. So that's and my camera went off for some reason. I don't know if it just fell asleep or what, but I'm going to keep talking. And when I finish, I'll refresh and my camera will come back. But yeah, so, with this film, I think what we've been having to do is be creative, and not get hung up in disappointments or, things that have gotten in the way, and forced us to have to re-envision completely how to get the film to people, and how to have conversations with people. And, thinking of a part of the question that Margot had on how meeting with these indigenous peoples from all over the continent, and during the process of creating the film and putting it together, how has that changed my work here back home? I think it's made me much more patient, and understanding. And, a lot of why I traveled to begin with was because I live in a city where oil and gas is very dominant part of the culture. And, these oil and gas execs travel all over the world, and they come back to the city and they talk about all the wonderful things that they're doing and all the progress that's being had, and, how they're lifting up low income communities, indigenous communities, communities of color, and just building them schools and giving them access to, all sorts of technologies and hospitals and schoolroom, classrooms, blah, 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 blah. And yet, I grew up in an area, and my family grew up in West Texas, in the middle of the Permian Basin. And I grew up in East Houston. And the things that they said, didn't even really resonate with my own experience. So my parents are from this little town called Big Spring, and the water there, has been so polluted that you can't even drink it. You weren't able to drink the water back in the 80s when I was growing up. And it was the first place that I went to where that was the situation. It was awful. It tasted awful. And yet I know a lot of people, that's all they had. They had to drink that water. And I lost my grandmother at a young age to kidney failure. And she was on dialysis for, 10 years prior to a botched surgery. But, those are the things that I remember that didn't really resonate or make sense until I got older and was able to learn more about the impacts of oil and gas and all the chemicals that our elder spoke of earlier. So, going to South America and going to Canada, I felt like a bit of a time traveler, because I saw scenarios that were playing out at different moments in time, right? There's an extraction phase. There's the pre-extraction phase where, communities are sold a bunch of lies, and promised a lot of things. And, their whole life changes after the extraction phase happens. And, it's not just the oil and gas that comes. It's Christianity, it's technology, it's other languages, it's, different foods, it's plastics, it's so many other things that communities are bombarded with that really take them away from their own, cultural identities that, they have lived with for decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years. And so it helped me better understand, my own community, my own self, and realize, how far removed I had been, and how, the communities that I grew up in were, forcibly removed from their traditions, from my native language, my ceremonies, my songs, my dances, all those things. And it's it really hurts. It hurts to recognize that, to see that, to feel that. But it's also incredible, to see communities who have managed to maintain that, and they're fighting today to keep it. So I come back to Houston, having witnessed all of this, and I'll never second guess myself or question myself. And I'll be damn sure to tell, communities when what oil execs and companies are saying is not true. It's not accurate. I've seen it. I have been there. I have talked to the people, and that's something that is very powerful, to bear witness to something. And then to realize we've all been bearing witness to the impacts in our lives here in the States and in the big cities. We've been blind to understanding them. And so it's helped me, better understand how to even interpret, what is happening here in Houston. So I'll leave it at that. And I think, with this virus and with this shelter in place, I think it's given us all opportunity to also take note of that, because everything is just shut down, and it's a completely different place, and folks are rushing to get back to that destructive way, but also realizing that the last week, at least in terms of environmental issues, it's been a completely different world. So yeah, I'll stop it there. And I see Priscilla asked her question. I'll get to that if we have time later. Thank y'all.
I just want to share one thing, because I believe that we have to be aware of the fact that for a lot of us who have grown up, with the sense of tribal identity, is that we realize that our battles have never ended. The Indian wars are not over. The battlegrounds have changed, and that's one of the things that we have to recognize. That now we have to be working in the courtrooms and have to be going and doing these kind of webinars to educate the public on what is really going on, to be able to go into the colleges and to the legislature floors, and to make a difference, and to even seek places where we can make a big difference, like getting elected. This being an election year, that we don't waste those votes just because we're angry because that things haven't happened the way we need to just kind of inundate the system with our people, with people who are pro-earth and pro-native and pro-environment, and I think that that's important for us to interject here at this time when we're talking about these things. Also, at the same time, we have to, start our own models, create our own models of how to bring the facts out of what really has happened and the misconceptions and the lies that continue to be part of what has become historical facts. I guess if you lie enough, to a colonial mind, it becomes a fact. But for us, it's more about dealing with the facts. And that's why we as a tribe are also setting up the tribunal in 2 weeks. And we want to use the same kind of format with a webinar to be able to speak about these things and to bring out the facts about what is happening with the LNGs, the 3 LNGs that we've been fighting for or against down in Brownsville, and of course the other pipelines that we're also against. That we want to bring the facts to the surface instead of it being just a corporation rhetoric, where the corporations are the only ones that have the say, where the corporations are the only ones that can make a difference with the legislators in our states, especially in Texas, because everything seems to be coming down this way, and we want to be able to cut that off before it starts making it worse. And I think that by working toward divestiture and of helping them divest at this time while they're down, the fossil fuel industry is down, I was taught not to hit somebody while they're down, but you know what? Let's hit them hard. That's what we got to do. Is keep it up. Tell them that what they're doing is not about humanity, and they're not dealing with a clear conscience. They're just doing things because it's all about, like Casey said, was avarice. It's all about greed. It's all about how much they can get, but their servants, their slaves, the workers are the ones that are suffering, because they're the ones that are going to die in an explosion. They're the ones that are going to be in the car wrecks. They're the ones that are sacrificing their own families to what's going on. And I think that they need to recognize that fact too. And I think we need to start looking at this again by bringing the unification of everything that's going on there, because the United States can't continue to do an eminent domain issue. They can't, because they have no deed to this land. This land still belongs to the original people of this land. And it belongs to us not because we own it, but because it owns us. These are our ancestors. These are our sacred places. This is where we used to live. And this is important for us to know this. And that's why I think that having a tribunal that is led, by the tribes and by the native original people of Texas and of the United States, and they're all part of it, we can come up with a model that can continue to make a difference in how decision making is done in Washington, and at the same time during an election year. But I just believe that there's a human factor that's not being dealt with here. There's no voice for the ocelot. There's no voice for the butterflies. There's no voice for the blue indigo snake. There's no voice for the antelope. There's no voice for those animals that we hold sacred as well. And when Lula was talking about the sacredness of all this, and she said that they were all our relatives. They are. We're all related in one way or the other. We're part of that circle that gives life, because those are our life ways. This is not a worshiping way or a life way, but a way that we used to live. Our ancestors lived this way. They lived without electricity, air conditioning, and all that's happening now. Now it's getting harder. We need the air conditioning, but I realize that. But the thing is, we need to be able to survive, and we need to be able to continue bringing the fight to them while they're down. And that's why we need to be involved in more of these situations where we can make a difference. And we're talking about change, and change is hard for them. They like the status quo. They like to be happy. They want us to make them comfortable. They want us to change so they can be comfortable. They don't want us to be who we are. So it's time to make ourselves comfortable as people of the land, people of the earth, and we want clean air, we want clean water, we want a clean environment.
Okay. Well,
Did y'all hear my train outside?
Oh yes.
yeah,
Okay.
it's Houston.
I
That
remember
sounds like Houston.
the whole day. Oil train, right? Chemical.
Yeah. Yeah, the
oil.
bomb trains, yeah, that you saw in the film in
Yeah.
Canada, all lined up along the mountain range. Yeah, I got them across the street.
And they are literally across your street, right? They are just like, I don't know, I'm in meters myself, so
Not far, yeah.
not far at all. Yeah.